So welcome to SketchUp. This is the first screen you will be greeted with. These are basically all your templates. So since you being an architect as well as me, so we know that the units we are working with. So every sample has its own units. As you can see, inches, architectural inches, meters, millimeters. If you want to see more templates, you can go to more, and then you will have several other templates as well. So for urban planning, for woodworking, interiors, 3D. So we will just start with the simple inches to begin with. All right, so this is what SketchUp looks like. This is your interface. This will be your modeling space. All these are your toolbars. So at the top, you will see your menu bar where you have your file, edit, view, camera, draw, tools. These are all the tools that we will be using to model. Camera will be all your views, perspective, top views, where you can zoom, extend the window, position camera. Windows is your default settings, and help is the help center, which we'll not be using. The one at the bottom is your toolbar. So all your tools that we are going to use for modeling are here. If you go to tools, if you go to Windows and do a default tray, I will just have where is are you using a Mac computer or a Windows PC? If I can know that. Abdul Rahman sir.
Sorry, what was the question?
I am saying, are you using a Mac PC or you're using a Windows PC?
Windows.
All right. So as you now have all the toolbars set, I will tell you about the default tray. So this default tray, you can move it wherever you want. You can place it as per your convenience. I like to place it on the right-hand side. Now, what this default tray does is gives you information about your model. So if you click right now, I don't have anything. So let's say that I have something. You click on it. Now it gives you the entity information. So since it's a rectangle or a square, it will give you area. If it's a line and you select the line, it will give you the length of the line. Basically, it will give you the information that your model consists of. Let's have this removed. Then you have your tags. Now, tags are your layers, just like how we have in AutoCAD. So let's say I have something drawn and I add a tag. Here you can name it like, let's say, line geometry. Now, as in AutoCAD we want to put this into the line layer. It's already in line. So let's say we want to put it in tag layer. We will go to information. We will click on it. And this is untagged. So here you can choose the layer you want to activate in. This will put it into tag layer. This is just like how we organize in AutoCAD. Basically, the number of layers you have, the number of entities you have, you can place them in those rightful layers. Similarly, how in AutoCAD you can denote color, line width, etc. That we will talk in advanced stages. Then we have the instructor. This is just a simple tool where you can have help tips. When you are into, let's say, a command, it will give you information about the command, how to get started, what it does, basically that. Not much of it. Outliner is one important thing. So outliner, we will talk about it once I get to the groups and components, then you will understand it better. Materials is where you can apply the materials to your model. So there are some default materials already given. You can assign colors. There is glass and mirror. These are basically the default materials that SketchUp has. It doesn't have the rendering quality, but yes, in 2D, if you want to show into plans and elevations, these materials help. You can also create your own custom materials. Scenes. So scenes are basically your, let's say, front view. Let's say I have a geometry. And I have a top view, I have a front view, side view. Here you can add a scene. And you will see that the scene has popped up here. This will help you to toggle between various viewports. So let's say I add another. Now I have the side view. If you go to scene 1, I'll have the front. If you go to scene 2, I'll have the second. This will help you to convert your files into JPEGs when you're exporting them. So basically, you will have to create multiple scenes, which will contain multiple drawings, or let's say elevations, plans. You can assign each scene to each view, and then you can export them into 2D graphics. So this is where scenes come in very handy. I will just... Then we have the styles. We will not get into this right now. We will get into it as we go on. And components. So components here is where you can download components from the 3D warehouse directly. So if you say you want a table, this is a built-in library of SketchUp that SketchUp offers. So you can go to Windows, 3D warehouse. Here you can see all those models that are available into for downloading into SketchUp. You can search for any model you want, chairs, tables, lighting, anything. So people have already modeled this and put it into SketchUp library. These are a ready-made form of components that you will get. And you can directly have them into your model. So these are some pre-built models that SketchUp already is offering you. Okay. Now the most important thing in SketchUp is navigating. You have to know how to navigate into your model for better modeling. It's always better to have a 3-button mouse, the usual that we use, left click, right click, and the scroll button. So all these functions that I'm doing right now, I'm doing with my mouse. If you want to zoom in and zoom out, that will be your scroll button. You can try it on your screen. So wherever you zoom out or zoom in, wherever your cursor is, that's where it will zoom in. That's from your mouse. Now, if you want to activate a zoom tool in SketchUp, you can go to this little magnifying glass and click your left key and drag towards the model. So this will zoom in. But this, what it does is it zooms in only to a particular point, and it is quite tedious because you have to keep on zooming in or zooming out. If you want to get out of this command, you can just press escape. So the best way to zoom in and out of your model is your scroll button. That's very, very important. Now, if you click the scroll button and move your mouse, you can see that you have gone into the orbit mode. This will help you move or navigate through your model. You can also activate the orbit tool from the toolbar above this little orbit. You can see that it pops up with the information. So once you have that active, you can now move. If you press the control key with the orbit key, now you can see that you can orbit into different directions. Similarly, if you press the shift key, you go into the pan mode. Now you can pan your model with your scroll key and your shift key. You can zoom in, zoom out, pan again, and then orbit. So what I have done is I have created a PDF with all the shortcuts that we will be using often, and I have put it in the drives folder. At the end of the class, I'll share that link with you on WhatsApp, and you can access that file. Using shortcuts in SketchUp is very important if you want to draw faster or you want to have more efficiency in drawing rather than using all these commands. As we go along, you will learn them, and I will encourage you to use them as we go along instead of depending on the tools that we have. So that's zoom in, zoom out, orbit, and pan. So your little hand tool here can activate your pan tool from the toolbar as well. This is the select tool. The select tool is very important because this is going to help you select the entity. After every, it's more like an escape from a different tool. So let's say I have a tool that is active. Let's say I have a line tool that is active. Once I press escape, that's when I'm still in the line mode. I have not escaped from the tool. To do that, you will always have to go back to the select tool, after which you will be able to select another tool. Or you can press spacebar. Escape. I think I haven't assigned it. So your select tool is the one that is your default mode. All right. So that is with your navigating. Before we go on to drawing, I would like to tell you about the axes. So this is the major part which will help you model. This is your x-axis. The red is your x-axis. The y-axis is your green line, and the z-axis is your blue. So everything will correspond to these three axes. Okay, let's start with the first drawing tool. That's the line tool. That's this little pencil here, or you can press L on your keyboard to activate the line tool. Now to do the line tool, okay, if you noticed that on the left-hand side of your screen, it will show you the command line. This is similarly like AutoCAD, how it shows you the directions that you have to go. It will show you here. So it's saying select a point. So let's say I've selected a point and I leave my mouse. So do not select and drag, because this will just create a solid line. You always have to click and leave so that your line tool is activated, but it's not snapped to any axis. Now to snap it to your axis, because it's moving randomly, you can either align it with your red axis, so it will become red. This will tell you that it has been snapped to the x-axis. Similarly, if you go there, you will see it's snapped to the green axis. That will tell you that it has snapped to your y-axis. And similarly, if you go here, it's snapped to the blue axis, which is your z-axis. You can also control the snapping by pressing the right, left, and the top key on your keyboard. So let's say that I'm hovering. I press my right key. It will now lock it to the x-axis. This is very important when you're drawing, because you need to draw on the similar plane to create faces. So now let's say that you want to draw a line that is 2 meters long. If you have noticed, on your right hand side, there is this measurement toolbar, which is giving the length. If I escape from the tool, it will just say measurement. You cannot type in here or anything. This is how SketchUp reads your commands, is directly through the typing that you're doing on your screen. So let's say I activate my line tool, I click, leave my mouse, I press the right key, it's snapped to my red axis, and now I type in 2000. Millimeter. So now it's made a line that's 2 millimeters, 2 meters long. We can check this. So this is a tape tool. I'll explain this to you later. Oh, it's 6. It's showing 6 feet. 2000 mm. Okay, so the line tool. Now, if I draw a line, let's say we have 2 lines. These are in 2 different planes. So it's a single entity. Now you want faces. You connect, and now you will have a face. So in SketchUp, it's very important to have minimum 3 edges to create a face. And that 3 edges have to be in the same plane. So it has to be a coplanar. Let's say if I draw to the green, snap to the green axis, snap to the red axis, and snap to the blue axis, and I again snap it here. Now you will see that it does not create a face, because all these points are not in the same plane. To create a face, I have to always connect all the points that are in the same plane. Now you will see that it has created 2 faces. This will come in handy when you are drafting, because all your points will have to be in the same plane to have a perfect geometry. SketchUp does that because since if you forget to snap it to the right axis, you will have a point that is not in the same plane. And then it will become very difficult for you to draw. So make sure you always snap the lines to the same axis. That will be pressing either the right key, the left key to the green axis, and the top key to the blue axis. It will always help you to make the points in the same plane. The next up is the circle. This is a very standard, like a circle. You can press C on your keyboard to activate the circle. Here, now you can see that the measurement has changed to radius. So if you say that 2.5, it will give you a 5-inch of circle. SketchUp defaultly always reads in inches. So unless you specify the dimension, it will read into inches. This is a 5-inch circle. Similarly, if I press C, I go here, it's saying 1.5 feet. I say yes, click. Now this will give you a 1.5 feet, that is a 3 feet diameter circle. As we have an AutoCAD, this is a 2E. Now we go to Arc. This is the Arc tool. You can activate the Arc tool by pressing A on your screen. If it doesn't come, let it be. I'll tell you how to assign the shortcuts to each of these commands so that it will make your work easier. Just like AutoCAD, you can also learn the shortcuts in SketchUp. In SketchUp, there are 3 types of arcs. There is the basic arc, which you can just start drawing from a circle. There is the 2-point arc, where you will have to specify 2 points and draw. You can have it either in green axis. Again, if you press the top key, it will snap to all the axes. So if you want to have an arc on the blue axis, if you want to have the arc on the red axis, you can draw the arc. Arcs will always be a line unless and until they are connected. That's when you will have a face. Similarly, you have the 3-point arc, where it will ask you to give 3 points and you can have your arc. If I want to snap it to the red axis, I'll press the right key. It will snap to the right and it will make a horizontal 3-point arc. There's one function in SketchUp that will automatically help you to build faces with the arc. That is the pie. It is similar to this arc from the circle. You start drawing, you draw an arc, and there you have an automatic surface. So there are 2 ways to make the surface arc. Either you have an arc, you will have to complete the geometry by connecting the endpoints, or you can directly use the drafting arc and start drawing, and it will have a geometry, a plane that is already done. If you want to have a measured arc, so let's say you want an arc that is say 1.5 feet of the radius. So you will click on the point and you will leave your mouse. You will put 1 feet 5 inches. It will create that point, and then you can start drawing from there. That's your arc tool. Next up is the rectangle. This is the one that we'll be using the most. There are 2 kinds of drawing a rectangle. You can have it with your line. So where you have your line, if you want to snap the point and take an inference from this point, you can just hover over the point. It will give you a right direction. Snap it. There you have a rectangle. But this is very time consuming. So SketchUp already has a default rectangle tool. This rectangle tool can be also activated by the key R on your keyboard. You stretch and you draw. So you'll have to specify the first point and the second point to draw a rectangle. Now, if you want to have a measured rectangle, you will simply select the R rectangle tool. You will select the start point and leave your mouse. Now, if you see on your dimension or the measurement tab at the right hand side, it will show you 18 feet, 9 feet, 5 inches. That is telling me that my rectangle is 18.5 feet wide and 9.5 feet in length. So if you want to say, let's say we have a 3 feet, 1 feet, enter. There you have a rectangle that is 3 feet by 1 feet wide. SketchUp will always read the width first and then your length. So if you want, let's say a 20 feet by 40 feet, you will have a rectangle. Your width will always be 20. Similarly, this was on the plane. Now, if you want to draw a rectangle, let's say on the YZ plane, what you can do is click on the first point, left click, right click, and it will snap your rectangle to this plane. So this is very important if you're drawing a perpendicular geometry. You need to know which plane you're drawing in. Again, if once you have snapped it, you can leave it. Let's say 20 feet by 40 feet. Now it's created a rectangle that is in your YZ plane. Similarly, if you want to do it in your XY, XZ, you will click on the left click, it will snap. You can leave the left click. Now whatever you do, you will be drawing on this plane. That is very important, snapping the tool so that you have a perfect geometry. Then we have offset tool, which is F on your keyboard. The offset tool is basically to give thickness. So let's say you want to create a wall. You select the face. Sorry, offset. It will ask you the edge. Select on the edge, click. Now you want to specify the direction, either inside or you want it outside. Let's say I want it outside and I want it 5 inches wide. You select on the edge that you want. It will activate the edge. Just go to outside, leave your mouse and type in 5 inches. Now it's created a 5-inch offset on my rectangle. Similarly, you can do it on your inside as well. So let's say I want 2 feet offset inside. It's created a 2 feet offset inside. We will right now work with the 2D before we go into the 3D. It will also, you can also offset lines. So let's say you just have a geometry and now you want to convert this rectangular plane into a wall. You will go to your offset key here. You will press on the edge and it will ask you the distance. Now let's say I want a 2 feet offset. I'll put in 2 feet and then I'll join these lines. Now what it will do is it will create that as a face. So you can also offset curved lines just like in AutoCAD. Offset is Offset is O on your keyboard. Okay, so now we have seen the drafting tools. Now we will see the move tool. Now with move is the tool where you can move an object, you can copy an object, you can make multiple copies of an object through this one single tool. So let's say you want to move this. Now in SketchUp, there are two ways of selecting. If you select a face and only a face and you try to move it, you can do that in 2D, but you will not be able to do that in 3D, and I'll explain why. So if you want to move this, I have selected the face. I'll click on my move command, that is this 4-key arrow, or you can type in M on your keyboard and it will activate the move command. You pick a point and leave your cursor. So left click and leave your cursor. Now you're in the move command. If you want to move it towards the green axis and the red axis, again, like I said, you have to type in, you have to click the arrow key on your keyboard to snap it to the direction that you want. So let's say I'm snapping it to my green axis and I want to move it here. Similarly, if I click on it, again, I click on my left key, I'll again snap it to the green axis. And let's say I want to move it 5 feet. I'll leave my mouse, I'll leave everything, and I just type in 5 feet. And it will move 5 feet from the original position. Now, let's say you want to make a copy of this. You will select the object, you will go activate your move tool or M on your keyboard. You will click on the endpoint and you will click the control key on your keyboard. So you click the control key and leave it. Now it has made a copy. You can copy it. Again, I press control. I can copy it to the red. If you want to make multiple copies, I'll copy it. Click on the endpoint, take control, specify a distance. So let's say this distance, and I'll type in times 10. I leave my mouse, everything, I type in times 10. So X and 10 that you can see in the distance and say enter. Now it's made 10 copies of that. I don't have to copy the same thing multiple times. If you want to copy it to a specific distance, so let's say I select this and move it. I click, I press control key, and let's say I want it at 10 feet. I press 10 feet, I say enter. Oh, so this is 10 feet already. So let's say 10 feet. Okay, I'll press it here and say times 5. I have made 5 adjacent copies. Now, if you want to divide the distance, so let's say I have, maybe this is like a rafter or a column. I get the move tool active, control. Let's say that it's showing me that it's at 66 feet, 66.5 feet. So I press it. Now I do slash, that is divide, and 5. Now what it will do is it will divide that distance into 5 equal parts. And you already have your geometry that has been divided. You don't need to do the math. This is very helpful when we are doing an array. or you want to copy multiple objects into multiple distance, or you have a distance. Let's say you want to make slats on a wall. You know that the wall is 30 feet and you want to equally divide it. You can simply copy. You can simply copy it to the 30 feet distance and say divided by 15. So it will make 15 copies in that with equidistant copies. This is more like an array tool. Then we have the rotate tool. The rotate tool is to rotate the geometry. So let's say I have this geometry. I want to rotate it. So I activate the rotate tool. The rotate tool activates also through the shortcut Q on your keyboard. So if you press, I think I'll have to assign it again. So we will talk about it. You have the rotate tool. Click on the endpoint. I'm doing it, snapping it to the red axis, and I start. So I'll have to select. So in SketchUp, one thing I forgot to tell you is selecting the object. Now, if you drag it from your right or from your left to right, it will select the whole object, just like in AutoCAD. And if you drag it from the left to right, from the right to left, you will see that we have a dotted box for selection. Now, this will select only the entities that it has touched, or it has, that it's touching basically, and not the whole. Now, if you want to move a whole face in SketchUp, it is very, very important that you have the whole face selected. Otherwise, if you try to move, rotate, what it will do is, if you have only a line selected, and you try to move, it will only move the line and not the face. Similarly, for the rotate, it will only move the line and not the face. So it's very important that you select the whole geometry and then use your command. So let's say rotate. I want to rotate it from here. I want this point to rotate, and let's say to 45 degrees. Now it's rotated. You can also create a circular array for this. So let's say I have this geometry. I click on, I activate my rotate command. Let's say from here, I choose the endpoint. I press the control key that will copy the object. So control, I specify the distance. And now without coming out of this command, without doing anything, I'll leave my mouse and I'll type in times 20. So what it's done is it's created 20 copies, just like this circular array. If you want to give a distance, so let's say that I have a 20 feet line here. I use my rotate key. I select all the faces. Triple clicking will select all the faces. I put my protractor here. I select the endpoint. I press control. And let's say I have a 180-degree rotation. Now I do divide by 4. So what it will do is it will divide the distance by 4 and create its array. So let's say that I have to make this in a full circular array. I'll specify a point from the center of it. I'll use my protractor. I'll place it. I select the midpoint. I press control. I say, let's say here. And into 30. So it's created a full array of that object. If you want to reduce it, like if you have typed in a wrong number and you feel that, oh, I have accidentally typed in the wrong number. So let's just do Control Z. Control Z is to undo and Control Y is to redo. You can also do that from edit. You can do control or redo array. I have this object. I have my protractor. I select this, control. I press it to the distance and say times 30. But I realized that I should have pressed times 20. So without getting out of this command or without pressing anything, you just have to type in times 20. So what it will do is it will rectify and it will create 20. Now, so you can change your measurements before you come out of the command if you have accidentally typed in wrong. This is your move, copy, and array tool. So you can have a rectangular array with the move tool and the circular array with your protractor or your rotate tool. Okay, so let's look at extruding now, extruding these geometries into your 3D. So to extrude a geometry, we are going to use this push and pull tool, which can be activated from pressing P on your keyboard. If it's not, then we will assign those shortcuts later when we are at the end of today's lecture. I'll tell you how to assign those shortcuts to these commands. So it's this little push and pull tool. Now, I always recommend if you hover this, it will select the face. So if you click on the face, it will start extruding. It will tell you. So minus extrude. It will tell you to extrude. Now, if you say you want to extrude it 10 feet, you can click on it, leave your mouse, type 10 feet, enter. It will have extruded 10 feet. So let's say you want to make a room now. We will take the rectangle tool. We'll specify the first point. Let's say we want 10 feet by 20 feet. That's our room. Then we can use the offset command. It's activated on the edge. Click or right click, leave it. Let's say 4 inches is our wall. That's created the wall. And now we can use our push-pull tool to extrude these walls. So let's say 10 feet is the height of the room. Now you have a box that has been created as a room. Push-pull tool also is helpful in subtracting or adding of the geometry. So let's say if we have a rectangle on this face, I will click the endpoint. Now it's snapped to the green. That means that I'm drawing in the correct face. I will make a rectangle here. Now I will select the face and use the push-pull tool. Now what it will do is it will push or pull the geometry. If I extrude it outside, it will make an extrusion outside. Similarly, if I have a geometry here and I use push-pull, it's saying that its offset is limited to 4 inches because the thickness of our wall is 4 inches. So if you leave it, it will make a hole in the wall. So that is subtracting of the geometry. You can make doors, windows. This is the tool that we will be using for making walls, doors, windows, anything that has to be pulled and pushed, or creating geometries that are touching each other. You want to subtract space, you want to add a face. This is going to be your tool. So we are going to use this a lot. Then we have the follow me tool. Follow me tool is a very interesting tool because it will allow you to make extrusions that follow a particular path. So let's say your crown moldings, your trims, your railings, your profiles, any kind of profile can be created with the follow me tool. Two important things in follow me tool are the path. So let's say I have a path and the geometry that you want to extrude along this path. So the geometry always has to be perpendicular to the path in order for the follow me tool to work. So let's say I have this path. I take a rectangle. I snap it to my green axis so that it's perpendicular to the line. That is the left arrow key on your keyboard. And I draw a rectangle. Now what I want to do is I want to select the path. So you can either drag select or you can select each line you want this extrusion to take place through. Once you have selected the path, you can see this little follow me tool here on your panel, or you can go to tools and activate the follow me tool from here. F is the shortcut for follow me tool. So you select the path first. It's important to select the path first. And then you select the follow me tool and then you select the geometry you want to extrude it to. Once you click it, it will follow that path and it will create a profile. Let's say I want a pipe. So I have a straight line on the green axis, and let's say I have one in the blue axis. So I want an L-shaped pipe. So what I'll do is I'll take a circle. I'll snap it to my green axis with the left key on my keyboard, and I'll draw a circle. So it's telling me the rate to put the radius. So let's say I want a 0.5 inch. It's made like a 1 inch circle. Now I will select the path. So let's make this bigger. Because my drawing is bigger. So to select the path, again, you can either drag select it, or if you click triple times on this line, it will select all that geometry that is connected to this line. So I have triple clicked and made sure that my path is selected. I'll use my follow key, follow me tool, and I'll select the circle. Now it has made a pipe. So this is very important in terms of making a profile, in terms of making, let's say, casework. So let's do some casework as well. Let's say you have a door that is 3 feet by 7 feet. That's my door. Now I want to make casework in it. I will select a line. I will draw from the midpoint. I have made a rectangle. Let's say 2 inches. I have made a plane. Now let's say I want multiple sections. To do that, we are going to use our tape tool. So tape tool is a tool which acts as your guide. It can create, you can measure with your tape tool. It can also create guidelines. And it can also create guide points. So what are guidelines? Guidelines are basically the infinite planar lines which help you to draft. So to activate a guideline, you always will have to select an edge. So I'll take my tape tool, that's a T on your keyboard. I'll hover it over the edge. I'll click. Now I have an infinite guideline. Let's say I want this to be at 3 inches. I'll press in 3 inches. I'll leave. It's created a guide for me at 3 inches. Similarly, I'll do it from here as well. 3 inches. It's created a guide. So guidelines are from your edges, and guide points are basically your reference points that are created from any of the endpoints. So let's say I want to make a reference point from here at 5 feet. It's going to give me a point here. That will be at 5 feet from my selected points. Basically, it's just a reference point. If you want to erase these guidelines, you can use your erase tool. That's this rubber. You can activate it through erase on your keyboard and erase. I forgot to show you the erase tool, so I will do the erase tool first because it's also very important. Now, erase tool is the tool where you have to click and drag. This is the only tool in SketchUp where you click and drag if you want to erase something. I'll do Control Z. So let's say I want to erase this edge. I'll click and drag over this and it will erase my geometry. There's another way. You can just select the edges or the face and click delete. It will delete the face. If you want to select and deselect something, so you press your erase key. So, so let's say you want to select multiple objects and then delete them. What you are going to do is you are going to use your select tool. You will press shift. Now you see that it has added the plus and the minus sign. So in plus, with the shift key, you can select multiple objects. Then do erase and click on it. Delete. You have to press the delete key. So if I select multiple objects, with shift. And now if I want to unselect this, what I'll do is I'll press Control. I'll press shift again and unselect the object because I had selected the face. I'll press Control again and I'll select it. If I want to select multiple again. If I don't want, I'll press shift and I'll start unselecting it. And then erases, delete. So we will go back to our profile. I'll again use my tape tool to make guidelines. So say 3 inches. 3 inches. Let's say 2 inches from here. Oh, 1.5 inch, sorry. And I will make a line. Now I have a profile. Let's say another I want here in the you can have multiple guidelines. By selecting the guideline, you have to just hover over the guideline and then place your guides. I will draw some geometry here. And I will erase these edges. So now I have this profile that is going on. If I want to delete these guidelines, I'll just go to Edit and Delete Guides. Now those guides are gone. Now let's say I want this profile to follow through the door so that I have a casework going on for the door. I'll select the plane and I'll select the Follow Me tool. I'll go to my profile and click. Now you see that I have a door with the casework. This is very important when we are modeling furniture, doors, windows, anything that contains a profile. This comes in very handy. The Follow Me tool. So I will just show you where this file is located on the Google Drives. So if you go to Drives, once I share with you the link, you will be able to find it in Drive. There is, I will be sharing with you the SketchUp file. Lecture 1, and this is the commands PDF. So this is the commands PDF that I have already shared in the Google Drive folder, and you will have it. These are the basic commands that we use today, and these are the shortcuts for it. These are the advanced shortcuts, which so this is the shortcuts PDF I was talking to you about. These are the basic tools that we learned today. And we will now learn how to assign these shortcuts. These shortcuts will come in very handy when we are actually drafting complex geometries in the next class. And these are the advanced shortcuts that we will assign today. And later on during the course, I'll explain to you how these work. So let's get on with our SketchUp. I will have to share that screen again. So you will have to go, we will go to Windows and Preferences. Here we have all these settings in which we will go to Shortcuts. Now these are all the functions that SketchUp has. Basically, we don't need to assign shortcuts for all, but we will assign the shortcuts to the major commands. So let's say move. The first one is the move command. I will type in move here and it will give me tools or move. So if you see, M has been already assigned to it. I'll just say OK to it because we already have a shortcut to it. Then we will go to preferences again. We will go to rotate. You can see here rotate or tools. Now there's no shortcut that has been assigned here. I would suggest that you go to add shortcuts and put in Q. Q is the default shortcut for SketchUp rotate command because we are going to use R as a rectangle shortcut. That's why. If you feel that you want to use another shortcut, you can feel free to put it in this shortcut assigned window, which will be convenient to you. But I will just go with the Q because this is the default shortcut for rotate in SketchUp. Once you have typed in the value or the letter you want to assign, you have to click on the add button. Now it will say that it has assigned the letter Q to your shortcut. Let's say OK. Let's test it. So I will press Q on my keyboard. It has activated my rotate command. Similarly, if I press M on my keyboard, it was activated my M command. Let's go back to our preferences and shortcuts. And the next one is the push-pull tool. So we will type in the push-pull. It's already here. No command has been assigned. So I would suggest that you assign the shortcut of P to it because that's very easy to remember. P for push and pull. We will assign it by pressing the add key and say OK. Now let's see if we have. So if I press P on it, I have activated my push-pull command. Let's go back to shortcuts. We have our select tool. So the select tool is very important in select. I think it's select and it's control T. I don't want control T. So let's not do the selector because it's already assigned. We will go with the tape tool. The tape tool is T, as I already said. T has been already assigned to the tape tool. So we'll leave it as T. We will go to offset. O has already been assigned, so we will also leave it as O because that's very, very convenient. And we have the line tool, which I already said that it's L for line. We have the circle. C has already been assigned to it. That's what we want. We want it to be C. We have the erase tool. Eraser, E has already been assigned to it. So that's what we want. And the scale tool that we will be using in future. So scale is S that has already been assigned to it. That's what we want. So let's say S. We have the circle tool, which is C. Yes. We have the R tool, which is a rectangle. That's default. We have the E tool, which is erase. We have offset, that is F. I think F is for, F has been assigned to mine as follow me tool. We will change that. And let's say follow me. So follow me, we will just remove F from here because we are not going to use follow me that much as we are using offset. As we know that O has already been assigned to our shortcuts, we will not use O and we will use F as offset. So O has already been assigned to it. We have, I think my O is not, yeah, now it has been assigned. Now we will also do some advanced settings like hiding a geometry that we will do in the next class. So we can assign it here and the users I'll tell you in the next class. So you need to press to select hide and we will add F2 for it. It's not reading my. I think it's not assigning F2. Let me see if it's defaultly. It's not assigning my. So okay, so let's go back to our references, shortcuts, and we will do hide and toggle visibility. This is a very important feature as well. So hide, we will have to show hide, unhide all, no, hide, toggle. Visibility. Yeah, here, toggle visibility. Window default toggle visibility. We will assign J to it because it's also a default shortcut that SketchUp has been using for a long time. So we will assign it. Okay. Currently use. Okay, hide the rest of the model is already using J, so we'll not use that. And X-ray mode. X-ray, okay. We already have it assigned, so I would suggest that you also have it assigned as Y. The users of it, I'll explain in the next class. So I think that's it for today. We have covered all these drafting tools that we're going to use for modeling. And I know it can get a bit overwhelming, but I think if you practice these two and the next class will be, we can get into modeling a room. So all these tools we are going to use them in the next class.